The weight of our separation rests heavily upon your person's shoulders, a burden that grows more substantial with each sunrise and sunset that passes without the warmth of your presence. The distance between you has become more than just physical space. It has transformed into an emotional chasm that leaves them feeling isolated in the coldest corners of their own heart. This separation has awakened within them a profound sense of abandonment, as though they have been cast adrift on an endless ocean without compass or anchor. The fear that grips them is not a fleeting anxiety but a deep, pervasive dread that has woven itself into the very fabric of their daily existence. They find themselves in a state of vulnerability that they have perhaps never known before, a rawness of spirit that leaves them exposed and aching for the comfort that only you can provide. In matters of the heart, in questions of love and relationship, they desperately seek your guidance, your warmth, the steadying force of your wisdom and support. Without your presence illuminating their path, they feel as though they are stumbling through darkness, their emotions churning like storm-tossed waves, unstable and uncertain, threatening to pull them under at any moment. What terrifies them most profoundly is the possibility of losing you completely, of reaching a point of no return where the connection between you is severed beyond repair. This fear has become a constant companion, a relentless voice that whispers in the quiet moments, reminding them that if they were to lose you entirely, no other soul in this world or any other could ever fill the space you occupy in their life. They understand, with a clarity that borders on painful, that you are not simply important to them. You are irreplaceable, singular, utterly unique in the landscape of their heart. The energy you bring into their life is unlike anything they have encountered in their journey through this world. Your presence carries with it a quality of healing that goes beyond the physical, beyond the merely emotional. It reaches into the deepest parts of their being, those wounded places that they have hidden even from themselves, and it brings peace, comfort, and a sense of wholeness that no one else has ever been able to provide. When they are with you, they feel permission to be completely authentic, to express their romantic nature without fear of mockery or rejection, to open their heart wide without the armor they typically wear to protect themselves from the world's harsh judgments. You have created a sacred space around them, one in which even their most intense emotions, their overwhelming passions and desires, are met not with shame or discomfort but with acceptance and understanding. In your presence, they feel truly free, liberated from the constraints that society and past experiences have placed upon their emotional expression. You draw forth from them a version of themselves that yearns for deep connection, for stability, for a love that lasts not just for a season but for a lifetime. They hold the unshakable belief that with you by their side, they can build a relationship that is not only stable but flourishing, prosperous in every sense of the word, abundant in joy, growth, and mutual fulfillment. What moves them deeply is the way you have always proudly proclaimed your love for them, never hiding it, never diminishing it, never allowing the opinions or judgments of others to make you shrink from the truth of your feelings. That kind of courage, that unwavering devotion and loyalty, is extraordinarily rare in a world where so many guard their hearts behind walls of fear and self-protection. You have given them this gift wholeheartedly, without reservation, and they recognize the preciousness of what they have received. In the depths of their soul, they have come to a realization that shakes them to their core. No one in this entire world, among all the billions of souls walking this earth, could ever love them the way you do. They could search for a lifetime, meeting countless people, exploring countless connections, and still they would never find another love that matches the depth, purity, and power of what you have offered them. Time and time again, you have shown them what real love looks like, how it behaves, how it endures. You have opened their eyes to truths they were blind to before, helping them see how wrongly they were treating the sacred connection between you, how misguided and hurtful their actions had been, and how much they had taken for granted the treasure that was in their hands. Now, with this painful awareness burning in their consciousness, they desperately want to repair what has been broken, to mend the tears in the fabric of your relationship. The separation has created within them an emptiness so vast and so deep that no distraction can fill it, no temporary pleasure can ease it, no other person or experience can come close to addressing the void that your absence has created. This emptiness is not confined to one area of their life. It permeates everything, touching every corner of their existence, coloring every experience with the gray tones of incompleteness. Each day that passes without you serves as a stark reminder of the profound imbalance that existed in your relationship, a truth they were once blind to but can no longer ignore. You were the giver, pouring out your love and energy with such generosity, such selflessness, while they played the role of the taker, receiving your offerings but rarely reciprocating with equal measure. They accepted your love as though it were an infinite resource that required no tending, no gratitude, no reciprocation. That realization haunts them now because they finally comprehend the full depth of your selflessness and how catastrophically they failed to honor it, to cherish it, to give back even a fraction of what you so freely gave. The consequences of their choices are becoming impossible to avoid. Actions they once dismissed as inconsequential, behaviors they minimized or rationalized, now stare back at them like an unavoidable reflection in a mirror they cannot turn away from. The embarrassment they feel is crushing, weighing upon them with an almost physical heaviness. They recognize now that they acted carelessly, like someone who treated something sacred and irreplaceable as though it could be easily found again, as though love like yours was common rather than the rarest of gifts. What pains them most acutely is the knowledge that you were always genuine, always real, always honest in your love. You never wore masks with them, never played games, never pretended to be anything other than your authentic self. Your heart was an open book, and you shared it with them without guarding the pages. Yet despite this incredible gift of vulnerability and authenticity, they squandered it. They blew it all by failing to recognize the value of what they held, by not treasuring the precious connection they had been blessed to receive. This regret is not a passing feeling but a constant companion, growing heavier and more oppressive the more time they spend reflecting on what they have lost. Your person feels haunted not only by the pain of separation itself but by the clarity that has emerged during your time apart. Distance has brought into sharp focused truths that were blurred when you were together. They now understand with absolute certainty that love is not something to approach lightly or treat casually. They know beyond any shadow of doubt that your love is rare, that the connection you shared is not something that appears twice in a lifetime, and this awareness fills them with a terror that grips their heart. The thought of living the rest of their days without you, of walking through this world without your light, your energy, your presence, fills them with a dread so profound it sometimes feels difficult to breathe. They crave everything about you. Your energy that revitalizes them, your touch that grounds them, your presence that makes them feel whole. You have become their sanctuary, their safe harbor in the storms of life, the one soul in all of existence who truly accepts them exactly as they are, with all their flaws and imperfections, their strengths and weaknesses, their light and shadow. Despite all the mistakes they have made, despite all the ways they have failed you, they cling to a thread of hope that perhaps it is not too late, that the damage can still be repaired, that reconciliation is still possible. They want desperately to come forward, to step into the light and begin the difficult work of rebuilding what was torn down. They want to prove to you through their actions, not just their words, that they can be the person you need, the partner you deserve. They envision a future where they stand beside you not as a taker but as an equal partner, giving as much as they receive, creating the balance that was so conspicuously absent before, when the relationship leaned far too heavily on your giving spirit while they contributed so little in return. They long to demonstrate to you that transformation is possible, that they can change, that they can learn to honor the love you have given them with such selflessness and devotion. The truth that pulses through their veins with every heartbeat is simple yet overwhelming. They miss you more than language has words to express. Every memory of you serves as both comfort and torment. There is comfort in knowing what real love feels like and having experienced the profound connection you shared. But there is equal torment in knowing that they allowed something so precious to slip through their fingers, that through their own carelessness and lack of appreciation, they let you go. The separation has become their teacher, a harsh but necessary instructor that has revealed fundamental truths they were too blind or too stubborn to see before. It has shown them clearly who you truly are and what you genuinely mean to their life, their happiness, their sense of wholeness. They are no longer blind to the reality that you are irreplaceable, that there is no substitute for you, no other person who could step into your shoes and provide even a fraction of what you brought to their existence. They are beginning to grasp a profound truth: love like yours, especially the kind of love you offered so freely and so fully, is not something that comes around twice in a single lifetime. It is once in a lifetime, perhaps once in many lifetimes, a cosmic gift that some people never encounter at all. As they sit alone with their thoughts in the quiet hours, they feel two powerful emotions warring within them: sorrow and determination. There is deep sorrow for the ways they hurt you, for the careless mistakes and thoughtless actions that created this painful distance between you. But alongside that sorrow burns a fierce determination to find their way back to you, no matter how difficult the journey, no matter how many obstacles stand in the path. They want to heal the wounds they inflicted upon your heart, to restore the bond that once felt so strong and unbreakable, to rebuild the bridge they themselves burned. Deep within the core of their being, they know one truth they can never escape, never deny, never forget: you are the one who taught them what authentic love looks like. You showed them through your example what it means to love without conditions, without games, without holding back. And they understand now, with a certainty that feels etched into their very soul, that they will never find another person who can love them the way you do. Over these past 6 months, I have lived through epiphany after epiphany, as though life itself has been deliberately peeling back layers of illusion and revealing truths I had long avoided facing. Each moment of awakening has arrived carrying its own unique weight, its own particular clarity, and often a pain I was entirely unprepared to experience. The process has been transformative and agonizing in equal measure, stripping away comfortable lies and forcing me to confront realities I would have preferred to continue ignoring. There were so many times when I felt an overwhelming urge to reach out to you, to call you on the phone and hear your voice, to pour my heart out in lengthy letters so that you might understand the profound shifts happening within me, the discoveries I was making about myself, about life, about what truly matters. Yet every single time I tried to bridge that gap, the words would evaporate before they could take form. It was as though my thoughts were bound by invisible chains, my voice restrained by some force I could neither name nor overcome. You know those nightmares where you desperately try to cry out for help, to run from danger, to move your body, and yet you find yourself completely frozen, unable to respond no matter how hard you struggle? That is precisely what it felt like inside of me during these months. My heart ached with the need to speak, to turn to you, to lean on you as I once did so naturally and so easily. But instead of reaching out, I found myself trapped in silence, unable to break through the invisible wall that held me captive. And in that prolonged silence, a devastating realization began to dawn on me like the sun rising on a landscape of ruins. I began to see that in my own absence, in my own hesitation and withdrawal, I may have caused you to feel exactly the same way. That when you needed me most desperately, when you were reaching out for support and connection, I was not there for you. I was lost in my own inner turmoil, consumed by my own struggles, blind to your pain and deaf to your calls for help. That thought struck me with a force harder than any personal trial I had been facing. It shattered something inside me to realize that I had been so absorbed in my own storm that I failed to notice you were drowning too. The possibility that you had been calling out to me in ways I did not recognize, in moments when my presence could have steadied you and brought you comfort, fills me with a regret so profound it threatens to overwhelm me. For that failure, my love, for that absence when you needed me present, I am deeply and unreservedly sorry. No words can fully express the depth of my remorse. So much has been pressing on my mind during this time, weighing on my consciousness like stones I carry wherever I go. In truth, I have been grappling with the monumental challenge of becoming a man in the fullest sense, truly becoming one in a world that is not always kind, gentle, or supportive toward men who are trying to awaken to deeper truths about themselves and their lives. This process of waking up, of seeing myself and my life with new eyes unclouded by comfortable illusions, has been the most difficult thing I have ever undertaken. It has demanded that I strip away layers of self-deception, face uncomfortable truths about my character and my choices, and consciously walk away from patterns of behavior and attachments that no longer serve my highest good or the good of those I love. Yet walking away from these familiar patterns was far from easy. It felt like tearing pieces of myself apart, like abandoning the only version of life I had known, the only identity I had constructed. And still, despite the excruciating pain of this process, despite my attempts to resist and avoid it, the truth kept revealing itself with relentless persistence, refusing to be ignored no matter how desperately I tried to run from it or hide from its glaring light. As my old life began to unravel thread by thread, it often felt as though I was standing outside of myself, a powerless observer watching changes sweep through my existence like a cleansing fire that destroys everything it touches. I watched as things I once clung to for security and identity were systematically stripped from me, roles I had played, relationships I had depended upon, old identities I had built my sense of self around, comforts I genuinely believed I needed to survive. One by one, they were taken away, and I was left standing on what felt like a small island in the middle of a vast ocean, isolated and alone, surrounded only by my own thoughts, my memories, and the overwhelming weight of my own heart. In that profound solitude, when the silence grew so heavy it felt like it might crush me, my mind always wandered back to you. I thought constantly of us, of the bond we had forged, of the way you had stood beside me with a strength and devotion that humbled me every time I contemplated it. Those memories struck me in the deepest part of my being, landing like blows to my very center. At times, the longing and regret felt like a physical wound in my gut, as if I had been cut off from my very life force, from the source of vitality and meaning that sustained me. It was in those dark moments that I came to understand something I had not wanted to admit, a truth I had been running from. I had walked away from the one person who accepted me as I am, without conditions or demands, without requiring me to be anything other than my authentic self. You stood beside me not merely as a romantic partner but as a warrior goddess, unyielding in your commitment, unwavering in your support, fierce and protective in your love. You saw me not just for what I was in any given moment, with all my flaws and failures clearly visible, but for what I could become, for the potential you recognized within me even when I could not see it in myself. And despite witnessing my weaknesses and mistakes, you chose to stay by my side even when I faltered, even when I gave you every reason to walk away. That truth has simultaneously haunted me and healed me. In remembering your incredible strength, I have also begun to remember and reclaim my own strength that I had forgotten or abandoned. I wish I possessed the words to adequately convey the depth and complexity of what I have felt during these transformative months. There were countless nights when I lay awake in the darkness, staring at the ceiling or out the window at the stars, wondering if you could somehow still feel me reaching for you across the miles and months that separated us. There were mornings when the weight of regret pressed down on my chest so heavily that I could barely summon the will to rise from bed and face another day. And yet, woven intricately into all of that pain, into all that anguish and remorse, was also profound gratitude. I found myself feeling grateful for having known a love so deep and so authentic that even in your physical absence, even in the painful space of separation, it continues to shape me, to transform me, to call me toward becoming a better version of myself. My beloved, if I seemed distant to you during this time, if I appeared cold or absent, if my withdrawal felt like rejection or abandonment, please know in the depths of your being that it was never because my love for you had faded or diminished in any way. On the contrary, it was precisely because that love runs so deep, because it matters so profoundly, that I struggled under the weight of fear. I was terrified of failing you, of not being enough for you, of not knowing how to bring all of myself to our relationship when parts of me were still breaking apart, still being reconstructed, still learning how to be whole.